Are you ready to uncover the dark legacy of National Socialism and its devastating impact on world history? The aftermath of World War I left Germany in ruins, grappling with economic instability and social unrest. This tumultuous period gave rise to extremist ideologies, with one in particular casting a long and horrifying shadow over the world: National Socialism, more commonly known as Nazism. Under Adolf Hitler's leadership, the Nazi Party rapidly gained support, capitalizing on the nation's despair and promising a return to greatness. Hitler's oratory skills and the party's propaganda machine preached a perverse doctrine of Aryan supremacy, portraying the German people as a master race destined to rule while demonizing other groups, particularly Jews, as inferior and a threat to national purity. The Nazi ideology found fertile ground in the humiliation felt by many Germans after their defeat in World War I and the subsequent Treaty of Versailles, which imposed harsh penalties on the nation. The Nazis skillfully exploited this resentment, blaming the Jews, communists, and other scapegoats for Germany's woes. Their propaganda machine relentlessly churned out messages of hate and division, preying on fear, insecurity, and economic hardship. Central to Nazi beliefs was the concept of Lebensraum, or living space, which called for the expansion of the German state eastward into the lands of Slavic peoples, who were deemed racially inferior. This expansionist ambition, fueled by a dangerous cocktail of racial ideology and militarism, would ultimately plunge the world into another devastating global conflict. The seeds of this monstrous ideology were sown in the years following World War I, taking root in the fertile ground of resentment, economic hardship, and wounded national pride. The Nazis offered a distorted vision of a glorious future for Germany, a vision built on hate, conquest, and racial purity. The establishment of a totalitarian dictatorship under Hitler's rule led to the outbreak of World War II and the horrifying reality of the Holocaust, where millions of Jews and other minorities were systematically exterminated. The world would soon learn the terrible price of its indifference to the rise of this monstrous ideology. The Nazi grip on power from fringe movement to totalitarian regime. In the early 1920s, the Nazi Party was a fringe group with limited appeal. However, the onset of the Great Depression in 1929 dramatically altered the political landscape of Germany. As unemployment soared and millions were plunged into poverty, the Nazis, with their promises of economic revival and national renewal, began to gain traction among the desperate and disillusioned populace. Their message of hate and division resonated with increasing numbers of Germans, who saw in the Nazis a beacon of hope in a time of despair. The Nazis were masters of propaganda, effectively utilizing rallies, posters, radio broadcasts, and films to spread their message and demonize their opponents. They appealed to the basest instincts of the German people, exploiting their fears and prejudices to create a climate of hate and intolerance. Their charismatic leader, Adolf Hitler, proved to be a mesmerizing orator, captivating audiences with his fiery rhetoric and promises of a glorious future for Germany. In 1933, amidst the chaos and instability of the Weimar Republic, Hitler was appointed Chancellor of Germany. This seemingly insignificant event would have catastrophic consequences for Germany and the world. With cunning and ruthlessness, Hitler and his Nazi cohorts swiftly consolidated their grip on power, transforming Germany from a fragile democracy into a totalitarian dictatorship. The Reichstag fire in February 1933, which the Nazis blamed on communists, provided a pretext for the suppression of political opposition. The Enabling Act, passed by the Reichstag under duress, granted Hitler dictatorial powers, effectively dismantling the Weimar Constitution and paving the way for the establishment of the Nazi police state. Political opponents were arrested, imprisoned, and murdered. Trade unions were abolished. Freedom of the press was extinguished. Germany was in the clutches of a totalitarian regime, and the world watched in horror as the nightmare unfolded. The political, social, and moral consequences of this dark era were profound. The Nazis committed unimaginable crimes in the name of a racist and authoritarian ideology. We must remember the victims and the atrocities committed, ensuring that such a dark chapter in human history is never repeated. A world engulfed Nazi policies, wartime atrocities, and the plight of the innocent. Once firmly in power, the Nazi regime unleashed a reign of terror upon Germany and eventually the world. Their ideology, rooted in hate and racial superiority, manifested in a series of horrific policies and actions that would forever stain the pages of history. The Nuremberg Laws, enacted in 1935, stripped Jews of their citizenship, prohibited marriage and sexual relations between Jews and non-Jews, and marked the beginning of a systematic campaign of persecution and dehumanization. The Nazis established a vast network of concentration camps and extermination camps, where Jews, political prisoners, Roma, homosexuals, and others deemed undesirable by the regime were subjected to unimaginable horrors. Millions perished in these camps, victims of starvation, disease, torture, and systematic extermination. The Holocaust, the systematic genocide of 6 million Jews, stands as a chilling testament to the depravity and barbarity that can result from unchecked hatred and intolerance. Driven by their twisted ideology and insatiable lust for power, Nazi Germany embarked on a campaign of military aggression that plunged the world into another devastating global conflict. The invasion of Poland on September 1, 1939, marked the beginning of World War II, a conflict that would claim the lives of tens of millions and leave much of Europe in ruins. The war witnessed unimaginable brutality and suffering, with civilians bearing the brunt of the Nazi war machine. From the bombing of London to the siege of Leningrad, the conflict left an indelible scar on the human psyche. However, amidst the darkness and despair, acts of extraordinary courage and resilience shone through. The Allied powers, led by Great Britain, the United States, and the Soviet Union, fought valiantly against the Axis powers, eventually securing victory in 1945. The defeat of Nazi Germany marked a turning point in human history, signaling the triumph of good over evil and the importance of international cooperation in the face of tyranny. National Socialism left a trail of destruction, hatred, and suffering that still echoes in the collective memory of humanity. Shadows and Echoes. The enduring legacy of Nazi Germany. The echoes of Nazi Germany's reign of terror continue to reverberate through history, serving as a chilling reminder of the fragility of civilization and the ever-present threat of intolerance and hate. The Nuremberg trials, held in the aftermath of World War II, brought Nazi leaders to justice for their crimes against humanity, establishing a precedent for international criminal law and underscoring the principle that individuals are accountable for their actions, even in times of war. The Holocaust, with its unimaginable horrors, has left an indelible scar on the human conscience, forcing us to confront the depths of human depravity and the consequences of unchecked hatred and indifference. It stands as a stark reminder of the importance of vigilance in the face of extremism and the need to actively combat all forms of intolerance and discrimination. The legacy of Nazi Germany extends far beyond the horrors of World War II, shaping the geopolitical landscape of the post-war world and influencing the course of history for decades to come. The formation of the United Nations, the division of Europe, and the Cold War can all be traced back to the ashes of World War II, highlighting the profound and lasting impact of Nazi Germany's reign of terror. The lessons learned from the Nazi era remain as relevant today as they were in the aftermath of World War II. The rise of populism, nationalism, and xenophobia in many parts of the world serves as a stark reminder that the forces that gave rise to Nazism are still present in our societies. Only through education, remembrance, and a steadfast commitment to human rights and dignity can we hope to prevent the horrors of the past from being repeated. Subscribe to our channel for more fascinating historical documentaries and analyses. Subscribe for more thought-provoking historical content.